Another visitor. Stay a while. Stay forever.
You know, over the course of this show, the comment I've gotten most often is, well, your name is FamiComplex, so why haven't you done any Famicom games? Do you not own a Famicom? Are you some kind of Fami poser? Well, first of all, yes, I do actually have a Famicom system, and I've got a Famicom disk system as well. I've also got a nice stack of games for both, but I just haven't covered them yet. Today, though, we're going to fix that. Rather than going over these classics, we're going to talk about a few Famicom pirate cartridges. Specifically, I've got 3 games based on the 1997 film Titanic. The first is called, simply, Titanic. It's sometimes also referred to as Titanic 2005 since the date is shown in the intro of the game. This one's a platformer in which you play either Rose or Jack attempting to escape from the sinking Titanic with your lives. In each cutscene they show fireworks above the ship with Jack and Rose freaking out about something. What, guys? Everything's fine. Except for that water coming in. The basic idea is pretty good, or at least it's the most fitting when you consider they're making an NES game out of the Titanic. Escaping from the ship while avoiding pitfalls really makes a lot of sense. Though a lot of the environmental hazards don't. These bulbs will break over and over again, the floor's trying to give you facial rug burn, and these fire axes, well, they're demonically possessed or something. Of course, given that this is a pirate game, it only takes about an hour to beat and has awful control and nonsensical gameplay. Like here, it won't let you get up this way. Instead, you have to slam your head into the unreachable platform above to climb up there. It gets worse though. You'll fumble with this patch of ice for a very, very long time. And then at the very end of the game, Rose just refuses to get into the boat. I mean, really, Titanic could have had a happy ending with Rose and Jack both alive and well, but she just wouldn't get in the damn boat. Seriously, ugh. Get in the boat. Don't worry about the turtle, just get in the boat. Get in the boat! Woman, would you please, for the love of God, just get in the freaking boat, please! Let's move on, shall we? This next one is known as Titanic 1912 and is an RPG based on the film. Let's just let that sink in for a second. Think of everything that this game could be. No, think worse. It's worse than that. I can't comment on the story because I don't speak the language, but, well, I can only assume they're following the established story of the movie, right? Like when Rose and Jack split up, and then Leonardo DiCipio wandered around aimlessly through hallways that are all exactly the same, fought with crickets and other junk, and whatever the hell this thing is, and holy crap, what is that? Anyway, just like the movie. There's not much to the battle system other than fight, 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 heal, fight, 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 heal. There are 3 classes or floors on the ship, and there's only 1 shop per class. It's incredibly repetitive, not to mention nonsensical. The only doors you can enter are the ones with a slash above them. Worst of all, this game has a level cap. At level 7. This means that the stat increases between each level are ridiculous. One moment he's weak, the next he's a superhero. The level cap, and the fact that they toss in random battles every 3 steps, means that you'll spend most of your time running away from battles and trying to navigate the closed-door mazes. Also, there's this submarine, on the Titanic. Couldn't they have just hopped in there and rowed off to safety? Why did Jack have to die? You know, maybe she just wanted to ditch the guy.
Jack, you know, I think I want to see other people.
Oh, okay. But my absolute favorite of the Titanic-based games is one that was never completed or individually released, a beat-em-up with both Jack and Rose as playable characters. It's every bit as awesome as it sounds. This is Titanic. The name comes from this title screen buried in the game's code on the one known pirate multicard. The actual given names of the two versions of the game were Hacker and Heroine. The only difference between the two versions are which character you begin with. While the game had no completed cutscenes, the following images and text for cutscenes were also found in the game's code. What follows may well be the greatest love story ever told. Well, provided you don't speak English.
In 1912, there is a noble American girl, Rose. She tried to get away from her arranged marriage, which is forced by her mother. At that same time, she met Jack, who is the young man on Titanic. Since Rose made a friend with Jack, he lighted on her life. They were also fall in love with each other. It made up a very touching and tragic love story. Rose did not love her fiancé, Carl, and she just wanted to suicide to finish it. Fortunately, Jack just saved her. They were both very fond of each other. Thus, Carl was very jealous and dislikes Jack. He tried to insult Jack, and he held a dinner party to thank Jack for saving Rose. Actually, Carl did not really mean it. He just had a chance to challenge Jack. Wisely, Jack knew about Carl's plan. He left this party and brought Rose together to join the party, which has belonged to the workers. Of course, Carl hates Jack very much. When Rose was very depressed and she met Jack again, both of them all have the strong love to each other. They trust and adore each other and enjoy the sunset on the Titanic. Jack promised Rose to draw her body sketch. Because of Jack's painting skills and his courage attracted Rose very much and she loves him deeply. However, Carl didn't give up the Rose. He still wants her back, but Rose did not love him at all. Carl hired some people to chase and to watch Rose and Jack when they were running to the front of the Titanic. They saw the accident happen by their own eyes. After the Titanic accident happened, the crew members did not tell the facts to all passengers because they were afraid to cause the passengers panic. But the Titanic had the strong damages, and it was getting sinking. Unfortunately, there is not enough saving equipment to save whole passengers' life. At that moment, it showed the big difference of noble people and poor people's fate. When the Titanic was sinking slowly, Carl libeled Jack that he stole the necklace of the Heart of Ocean and locked him at the bottom of the Titanic. It was very dangerous, and he probably will lose his life. Rose was very anxious about Jack's situation, and she escaped from Carl to save him. At the same time, the captain ordered every passenger to wear the life jacket. The Titanic had sunk. Although Rose and Jack got away from the Titanic, they could not reach the lifeboat. Finally, Jack scarified himself to save Rose and tell her to be stronger in her future's life. Then he was dead in the cold Atlantic Ocean. When this accident happened, there were 1,500 passengers fell into the ocean, and only 6 lucky passengers survived. It was a very low chance to survive. Then, there were 700 passengers who were in the lifeboat. They just only waiting dead, or waiting to help, and waiting the unforgettable relief.
Oh. I mean, what a terrible tragedy. Beyond all of this, however, is the actual game included in the multicard. Believe it or not, it's actually pretty good. The sprites are beautifully drawn, and the game actually controls pretty well. The level design makes sense, with some areas that are pure beat-em-up, and other areas where you must escape parts of the sinking ship before drowning. I can honestly say that I've played professional, licensed NES games that are far worse than this. I mean, you have to consider that this is the genre least suited to this story. Jack's running around the Titanic punching old ladies with guns, cooks, maids, rats and bats, and the whole thing ends with Rose knocking her fiancé off the edge of the boat and into a watery grave. This isn't Titanic. No, your heart won't go on. Rose will rip that sucker out and kick it off the edge of the boat. But it's not just the nonsensical nature of the game that makes me enjoy it so much. Aside from the artificial difficulty, cheapness of the final boss, the game is pretty solid and very detailed. The attacks for both characters have animated combos. Both characters have individual weight animations after a period of inactivity. For the most part, the fighting actually works the way you'd expect it to. In short, for an original pirate game, it's amazing. Of course, it doesn't hold up against the best beat-em-ups on the system, but compared to other pirate cards, it's gold. Much like Titanic 2005, it only takes about an hour to beat. Also, this game had to be emulated, as it doesn't work on the Power Pack, and try as I might, I've been unable to source an original copy of the multicard. So please, if you've got better sources than mine and you can locate this particular pirate card, let me know. I will buy it without hesitation. So what's all this got to do with Harry Potter? Well, as I mentioned, Titanic is an unfinished game. Harry's legend, on the other hand, is complete. This game actually has cutscenes, complete with text from the book, in plain English. Not bad, guys, not bad. Well, except for this one line. And of course, we all fondly remember the beginnings of the Harry Potter series, in which Harry kicked the crap out of his adopted family on the Titanic on the way to the train station, and then Professor Quirrell showed up. And of course, then he kicked him too. Oh, right in the Voldemort. Oh yeah, and then there's that time when he kicked an old woman in the face just to get a good seat on the Hogwarts Express. Harry Potter's kind of a dick, you guys. You've probably already noticed, but this hacked up and completed version of Titanic is actually a significant downgrade. Hits don't register as well, there are no weight animations, and the combos are all gone. There are also fewer enemy types, and the levels are all just slightly modified versions of Titanic levels. How they managed to make a hack of the game worse than the original is beyond me. In the initial planning for this episode, I actually had 3 Harry Potter games as well, but one of them is just a hack of Wacky Races, and the other is a hack of Magic Carpet 1001 from the Caltron 6-in-1 cartridge. Basically, every pirate Harry Potter game out there is a hack of something else, so there are no true original games. Sorry to get your hopes up, but I didn't know until I started playing them. To recap, well, almost all of these games are garbage. The Diamond in the Rough, however, has been the one game that's been nearly impossible for me to find. It's now a personal goal of mine to track down Hummer Team's Super New Year Kart 15-in-1 specifically for this game. I would say you should too, but not until I find mine, okay? And don't worry, I will cover some real classic Famicom games in the future.
When the Titanic was sinking slowly, Carl libeled... libeled Jack? Oh... he printed this information very quickly. All right, here I am, 1936.